Well, let's move on now. If he wasn't already under pressure after the press conference today, Daniel Andrews is certainly under pressure for the first time, I think, in his 10 plus years as Labor leader in Victoria. He's got a state with more cases than any other, more deaths, more economic damage, escalating state debt, increasing unemployment, his own Labor Party in administration, and now these stage 4 restrictions, hardly a record any leader would want to own. Worryingly, the Premier continues to avoid what scrutiny there is, given he's shut down the Parliament and refuses to answer detailed and legitimate questions, even though the judge leading the inquiry says there is no reason why he can't.
This Board of Inquiry is not a court. Under law, unlike a court, there is no general restriction or prohibition which would prevent a person from commenting publicly or answering questions to which they know the answers.
Well, someone determined to hold the government to account is the Leader of the Opposition here in Victoria, Liberal MP Michael O'Brien, and he joins me now. Michael, thank you for your time. We saw finally at least some attempt to answer questions in relation to the hotel quarantine debacle. Was it enough?
Good evening, Peter. No, it's not enough. This is the biggest public policy failure in Australian history. Can you name me any other public policy failure that has led to dozens and dozens of deaths, that has led to 250,000 Victorians being thrown out of work, the closure of tens of thousands of businesses, 5 million Victorians subject to a curfew, and every Victorian forced to wear a mask when they leave the home? This is, without doubt, the biggest public policy failure in Australian history. Daniel Andrews is at the heart of it. He sat there in that cabinet room, in that little Gang of 8 room that he set up, and he needs to answer questions. We shouldn't have to spend $3 million on an inquiry for the Premier to tell Victorians the truth. Why did you, Premier, use untrained, unqualified, $25 an hour off Gumtree security guards instead of professionals from the police or the ADF? Because that's why we're in lockdown today.
Even as toothless as the inquiry is, those comments were pretty damning from the judge appointed to look into this issue, because she made it very clear, and I play the grab just then again, she made it very clear that there's no impediment to ministers and indeed the Premier answering questions. Today he was pushed pretty hard on genomic testing data provided to him by medical experts. This is the data we're told will tell us how many of the cases in Victoria at the moment are linked to this debacle in hotel quarantining. Why is the public, and indeed other experts, medical experts at the start of the week who called for the release of this data, why aren't we getting the truth here?
Well, Peter, because the Premier is covering up. There's no other way to put it. This genomic data, it's basically the DNA of the virus. It tells you, for every person who tests positive, it can tell you from. It follows it back through its lineage. And what we know is that Professor Brett Sutton, the CHO of Victoria, admitted, he said it's conceivable that every single case of COVID-19 in Victoria's second wave is directly traced back to the breaches of hotel quarantine. So when I say that Daniel Andrews has caused this second wave, he has caused this lockdown, he's caused stage 4, I do so because his own chief health advisor says everything that's happening now goes back to hotel quarantine. I think that's why Andrews is so keen to avoid scrutiny. It's why he shut down Parliament. I mean, seriously, you can have Dan Murphy's as an essential service, but you can't have democracy as an essential service. We are not going to let this drop, Peter, because the people of Victoria have paid the price for Andrews' failures. They deserve answers. They deserve the truth. We're going to keep pushing until we get it.
You're a former Treasurer. How concerned are you by the revelations today from the federal government that this extension into stage 4 lockdowns in Victoria will cost the nation $12 billion?
Peter, the economic costs of this are enormous in terms of the debt, in terms of the deficit. The social costs are enormous as well. I'm Shadow Minister for Small Business. I've had so many small business people who put their heart and soul into building up something only to have, by government order, being told you must close it down. 6 weeks at least, no income, still paying outgoings. A lot of these small businesses simply won't come back. So yes, The economic toll will be enormous. We'll be paying this back for a generation at least. But the human toll, which is what Daniel Andrews always talks about, putting people first, well, his decisions have led to an immense amount of pain for so many people who've done the right thing and they've been let down by a failed government.